The execution was shown live across the galaxy. Billions of beings watched as the human ambassador stood in chains on the tall platform. His name was Ambassador Kane. He was calm. His face showed no fear, only silence. The crowd around him was filled with aliens from many worlds, members of the Zarn Dominion. They laughed, shouted, and cheered. The Zarn Emperor, sitting high above, raised his hand. The room went quiet. Then the Emperor spoke. "Let all witness," the Emperor said. "What happens to those who stand against the Dominion? Earth refused our rule. Now their last voice will be silenced forever." A tall alien guard stepped forward, holding a blade made of glowing blue energy. The blade hummed with deadly light. The execution was about to happen. Ambassador Kane looked up at the sky, then turned his eyes toward the Emperor. Slowly, he smiled. It was not a smile of fear. It was cold, quiet, full of something else, something dark. Then he whispered one word, single word that confused everyone. "Protocol Zeta." The aliens looked at each other. They didn't understand. The Emperor frowned. "What did he say?" he asked. But before anyone could answer, the blade came. Down. Kane's head dropped to the floor. His body followed. Blood pooled at the edge of the platform. The crowd roared in victory. They thought it was over. They thought Earth was finished. They were wrong. Far across the stars, in a cold, dark corner of the galaxy, a small signal was received. It was an old signal, a code buried deep in human systems. It had not been used in over 100 years. A satellite, floating silently in space, came to life. Lights blinked. Data began to move. One word appeared on its screen: confirmed. On a forgotten moon, hidden from maps, an ancient bunker opened. Inside were humans. Soldiers. Not just any soldiers, but a secret unit called Black Echo. They were trained for one thing only: revenge. When the alert came, they moved quickly. No talking, no fear. They walked into a sealed chamber deep underground. In the center was a black cube, smooth, quiet, pulsing slowly like a heartbeat. Captain Myra, leader of Black Echo, stepped forward and placed her hand on the cube. "Protocol Zeta is active," she said. The cube lit up. Red light poured. From it, all screens around the chamber turned on. Earth's hidden systems, long sleeping, woke up. Old warships began to move. Silent satellites turned toward Dominion space. And far away, deep in the dark, a fleet began to rise. The silent armada, made of black metal. With no symbols, no lights, and no known origin, the ships had waited for one command. Now they had it. Back in the Dominion capital, the Emperor smiled. "In his throne? Fools," he said. "Let Earth learn its lesson. Let all worlds see that weakness is death." But just hours later, reports started coming in. A scout ship vanished near the edge of space. A colony on the border stopped responding. A trade station exploded without warning. The Dominion's generals met in panic. "Is it rebellion?" one asked. "Is it pirates?" asked another. "No," said a quiet voice. It was Admiral Trask, the only one who had studied Earth's old war records. "It's them, the humans." "But Earth has no ships left," one general said. Trask shook his head. "That's what they wanted us to believe." As fear spread through the Dominion, a strange message was picked up. It repeated in a soft, calm voice, one that sounded almost human. "The code has been received. Vengeance has begun. You killed the ambassador. Now we are awake." The Emperor stood in rage. This is madness. Earth was weak. Earth was broken. But no one answered him, because the black ships had already entered Dominion space. They did not send warnings. They did not ask for surrender. They just came. They brought silence with them. The first planet they reached was a military base. In seconds, it was gone. No escape, no survivors. A sun seemed to flicker as the black ships passed by. Back on Earth, in a deep control room, old men and women watched the screens. They were the last of the high command, the ones who had prepared. For this moment, one of them, General Ross, leaned forward. "They thought we were weak," he said. Another nodded. "They made us watch." A third whispered, "Now they will learn." As the galaxy celebrated the death of one man, they didn't see what was coming. Not yet. But the storm had started. And Earth would not stop it, not this time. The stars were quiet, cold, still, but deep in the black. Something had changed. The death of Ambassador Kane had sent a signal, and now that signal was waking things up. Far from the busy centers of the galaxy, a small moon turned slowly in space. It looked dead, lifeless. But beneath its surface was a secret that the galaxy had forgotten. Inside the moon, long metal halls lit up one by one. Red warning lights flashed. Doors opened with hissing sounds. Machines began to hum. In the heart of the base, soldiers rose from cryosleep. Their eyes opened slowly. Cold mist floated around them. They had been frozen for years, waiting for one thing. The signal. Captain Mira stood first. She was tall, quiet, and calm. She had trained for this moment her whole life. Around her, the rest of her team awoke, silent and loyal. They did not ask questions, as they already knew. Mira walked to the main console and looked at the screen. One line blinked again and again. Protocol Zeta confirmed. She nodded. "It's time," she said. The team moved quickly. They walked to a large door sealed with thick steel. Mira placed her hand on a scanner. A soft click echoed through the chamber. The door opened slowly, revealing a room filled with strange machines. In the center was a large black cube, just like the one in the first base, but this one was bigger, older, more dangerous. As the cube came to life, the base around them began to change. Satellites outside started rotating. Hidden communication. Lines opened. Across old parts of the galaxy, Earth's secret systems began to connect again. For over 100 years, Earth had acted weak. It had sent no fleets. It had stayed quiet during wars. The Dominion thought humans were broken after the first contact wars, but Earth wasn't broken. Earth had been preparing. Captain Myra turned to her team. "We send the echo." One of the soldiers pressed a red button on the control panel. A signal burst through space sharp, focused, and deadly. That signal traveled across space faster than light, passing through wormholes, bouncing off hidden relays, till it reached its target. The Forge. The Forge was not on any map. It was not a station. It was not a ship. It was something else. Something built long ago by humans who believed that war would come again. And they were right. The Forge woke. Massive arms began to build. Metal melted and reformed. Ships grew inside the Forge like monsters being born. These were not normal ships. They had no windows, no names, no fear. They were black as night, built with stolen alien tech and old human rage. Meanwhile, in the Dominion capital, fear was starting to spread. More colonies had gone dark. Patrols disappeared. Space stations sent strange warnings, then nothing. The Emperor ordered a communication lockdown. He didn't want panic, but the panic was already spreading. On one world, a young Zon officer watched a strange video found in deep space. It was short, only 3 seconds long. Human face appeared, staring directly into the camera. No emotion, no sound, just a whisper. "We remember." The officer deleted the video and ran to report it, but it was too late. Ships were already falling from the sky. Back on the moon base, Mira stared at the map. Red dots appeared across Dominion. "Space," she smiled. "They still don't know what's coming," one soldier said. "They will," she replied. At the same time, Earth's high command was fully awake. Underground in a hidden base, leaders gathered around a large table. Watched the movements of the Black Fleet on holographic screens. One of them, an old woman with white hair, spoke. "They killed Kane. They broke the peace." Another general nodded. "Then we break the galaxy," and so it began. Earth did not speak. Earth did not send messages. It only acted. The Forge released. The first wave of ships, dozens of dark shapes, flew into space, silent as shadows. Their orders were simple: destroy every major supply line, kill all communications, and leave no survivors. The Dominion sent fleets to stop them. None returned. The galaxy had called Earth weak for years. Now, those same voices were falling silent one by one. The humans had waited long enough, and their silence had been a trap. Captain Mira looked at the stars from a screen. Somewhere out there, the Czarn Emperor still sat on his throne. Thinking Earth could be controlled, she leaned forward and whispered, "He's already lost." The Black Fleet continued to spread, like fire across dry leaves. One planet, then another, another. No one knew how to stop them. No one even knew where they came from. But Earth knew, and Earth was just getting started. The Czarn Dominion was dying, but it still had teeth. In the center of Dominion space, the Emperor gathered his strongest fleet, over 1,000 warships. With weapons powerful enough to destroy planets, they circled their homeworld like metal. Giants, ready to fight back. The Emperor stood on the bridge of his flagship, looking out at the stars. "Let the humans come," he said. "We will crush them here." His generals cheered. But their smiles faded when they looked at the data. The black ship's Earth's silent armada had already destroyed dozens of colonies. Hundreds of defense posts had gone silent, and the worst part? They still didn't know who led the attacks. The humans hadn't shown themselves. Not really, till now. A single ship appeared at the edge of the star system. Small. Alone. Dark in color. It didn't match any known design. At first, Dominion scanners thought it was a mistake. One ship against thousands. The Emperor laughed. Destroyed. But the ship didn't run. It moved straight toward the fleet. Calm, slow, silent. Admiral Trask, standing beside the Emperor, felt something strange in his chest. Fear, cold, and deep. "That's not a normal ship," he said. The small ship stopped just outside the fleet's range, and it sent a message. 3 words. "This is retribution." Then the ship fired. There was no beam, no missile, just a flash, and a star died. The light disappeared. The system's sun, burning for billions of years, collapsed in seconds. A shock wave exploded across space. Dominion ships were caught in it, thrown into each other, crushed like toys. The Emperor screamed. His flagship spun out of control. Power systems failed. Weapons shut down. Trask grabbed the Emperor's arm. "It was never about fleets," he said. "That ship is the weapon." Retribution was not a battleship. It was something else. A sun killer. A machine built from lost technology, forbidden science, and human rage. Earth had made it in secret, locked it away, and waited for the right moment. This was that moment. The shockwave destroyed nearly half the Dominion fleet. The rest tried to escape, but the black ships were waiting. Silent and fast, they moved through the chaos, targeting only the ships with command officers. One by one, they fell. The battle was over in minutes. Across the galaxy, the news spread fast. The humans killed a star. The Dominion is falling. The war is lost. And behind every headline, the same whisper. They warned us. On Earth, the High Command watched the battle through satellite feeds. No one spoke. The room was quiet. Then General Ross stood up. "It's done," he said. "We just ended an empire." One of the younger officers asked, "Should we stop now?" Ross turned to him. "Did they stop when they killed our ambassador?" The room stayed silent. On the ground, people across Earth watched the stars. They knew something had changed. They felt it. Their planet, once laughed at by alien empires, now held the power to destroy suns. Captain Myra stood aboard the Retribution, watching the wreckage of the Dominion fleet float in space. Her team stood behind her, quiet and still. "We didn't come for peace," she said. "We came for justice." Her voice was cold, but her eyes burned with fury. Back in the ruins of the Dominion capital, the Emperor sat on a broken floor, staring at the dark sky. "No sun, no ships, no hope," he whispered to himself. "We thought they were nothing." And then a voice came from behind him. "You were wrong." Mira stepped forward, her armor black and glowing with red light. She held no weapon. She didn't need one. Around her, the black ships hovered like shadows. "You killed Cain," she said. "You laughed at our weakness." The Emperor looked up at her. "Please, Mercy." Mira shook her head. Mercy ended with the ambassador. And with that, she turned and walked away. The black ships moved forward, and the palace vanished in white fire. Across the galaxy, the message was clear. Earth was no longer a quiet world. It was a force, a storm. And now, nothing could stand in its way. The retribution turned slowly and vanished into the stars. It didn't need to fight again. One shot was enough. One sun was gone. The rest of the galaxy finally understood Earth wasn't building weapons. Earth was the weapon. The galaxy was shaking. Worlds once full of life were now silent. The Zarn Dominion, the largest power known. Space was broken. Its fleets were gone. Its leaders were dead. Sun had been destroyed. But there was still one question no one could answer. Why had Earth waited so long to fight? In the ruins of an old Dominion archive, deep under a fallen city, a small team of aliens searched for answers. They were historians, not soldiers. They wanted truth, not power. And what they found changed everything. They uncovered a hidden file. It was over 100 years old. The file was locked with a name, Cain. They opened it. The video showed a younger ambassador, Cain, standing in a dark room on Earth. Around him were generals, scientists, and spies. His voice was calm. "They will fear us one day," he said, "but not yet. We are not ready. Let them think we are weak. Let them rule for now. When they come for us, we will give them something they'll never forget." A general beside him nodded. "The revenge code is in place." Cain looked straight at the camera. "I will be the key." The video ended. Historians sat in silence. The truth was clear now. Cain had known he would be killed. It was part of the plan. His death was not the beginning of a war. It was the trigger of something far bigger, a code hidden in Earth's deepest systems. Waiting for one moment, his execution. That moment had come, and the galaxy was now paying the price. Meanwhile, in the shadows of deep space, Earth's command ships gathered. Not to plan attacks, they had already won the war, but to decide the next step. Captain Myra stood on the deck of her ship, reading Cain's final letter. He had written it before leaving Earth for the last time. It was sealed in a black box, only to be opened if he died. The message was short. "If you are reading this, it means I'm gone." Good. Now they will listen. Mira closed the box. Her heart was heavy, but her eyes were sharp. Back on Earth, High Command shared the truth. With only a few trusted allies, many were shocked. Some were angry. But none dared question the plan. General Ross stood before a large screen. He spoke to leaders from old neutral systems who had stayed silent when Cain was killed. "You called us weak. You stayed quiet. We watched as they murdered our ambassador." One alien leader replied nervously, "We feared the Dominion." Ross didn't blink. And now? The alien said nothing. Ross leaned closer to the camera. "We feared you once too, but not anymore." Across many planets, statues of Dominion leaders were torn down. Old flags burned. New whispers filled the air, not of fear, but of respect. People remembered Earth's silence. They remembered Earth's patience. But most of all, they remembered Cain. He had not begged. He had not cried. He had smiled because he knew in the stars, the silent armada still moved, not to destroy, but to watch. Earth had no wish to rule, didn't need power over others. It had already made its point. On one moon, far from war, a small human child played with alien friends. The sky above them showed a new constellation, symbol made by black ships floating in perfect shape, a warning, a memory, a promise, in another corner of space. Captain Mira met with Earth's oldest secret council. They sat around a round table wearing simple clothes. No uniforms, no medals. Just eyes full of wisdom and sorrow. One of the elders asked, "Was it worth it?" Mira answered, "He thought so." The elder nodded slowly. "Then the galaxy will remember him not as a victim, but as the spark." She stood. We moved to Phase 3. "What is Phase 3? Mira asked. The elder looked out the window, toward the stars. "We build something better, not for us, for those who come next." Because Earth didn't want to rule, it wanted peace. But the galaxy had only understood war now. It would listen. They had to, because the Revenge Code had not just destroyed an empire. It had rewritten the future. The sky above Zarn Colony 12 was bright and calm. Children played in the dust. Traders moved through the streets. Everyone believed the war was far away. The humans were weak, they said. Ambassador was dead. The message had been sent. Had lost. But then the sun disappeared. First people thought it was an eclipse. The black shadow in the sky didn't move. It stayed still, blocking the light. Then another shape joined it. Then another. Dozens of black ships, floating above the colony like silent ghosts. They had no lights, no sound, no warnings. The silent armada had arrived. High in orbit, the colony's defense station tried to contact the ships. No answer. They sent fighters to scan them. The fighters vanished in seconds. Not even wreckage remained. A young soldier in the control tower began to panic. "They're not responding. They're just watching us." An older officer stood still, eyes wide. He had seen something like this once long ago, during a secret mission on the edge of human space. "Shut everything down," he whispered. "It's already too late." Before he could explain, the sky turned white. A single black ship fired a beam of pure energy. It cut through the defense tower, the trade hub, and the power grid. In one shot, the ground shook. Then the screams started. In less than 1 minute, Zarn Colony 12 was gone. The silent armada left as quickly as it had come. No message, no name, just destruction. Across Dominion space, other colonies suffered the same fate. The black ships appeared without warning and destroyed everything. No one knew how to fight them. No one even knew where they came from. In the Dominion war room, panic had become fear. Screens showed footage of the attacks. High Command argued with each other. Some wanted to surrender, others wanted to strike Earth, but no one could find Earth's location. That was the secret. Earth wasn't just hiding, it was erased. All known maps had been altered. They're old. Allies, humans who had lived in peace were now ghosts. "They're not answering any calls," one officer said. "Not even peace requests." The Emperor slammed his fist on the table. "They are animals. They don't understand diplomacy." But deep down, even the Emperor began to worry. Admiral Trask, the only one who studied human history, looked at the reports. "This is not revenge," he said quietly. "This is strategy. These attacks are surgical. They're cutting us apart piece by piece." The room went silent. "They're not just angry," Trask continued. "They're smart, and they've been planning this for a long time." Somewhere in a distant asteroid field, a small Zarn scout ship floated silently.
Away.
He had escaped the first attack on Colony 14. Now he drifted in deep space, recording what he saw. He zoomed in on one of the black ships. There were no markings. The ship looked alive. Its surface moved like flowing oil. Suddenly the ship turned and faced him. "No, no, no, no," the pilot whispered. The black ship fired. The signal cut out. Another scout gone. In a hidden command center on the edge of human space, Captain Mira watched the live feed of all attacks. Her face was calm, but her eyes were cold. "They're starting to understand," one of her officers said. "Starting to fear." She corrected. The screen in front of her showed a message from Earth High Command. Stage 2 approved. Mira stood and gave the order. Unleash Phantom Wing. Somewhere else in deep space, 5 new ships launched from hidden docks. Smaller, faster, built for one job only: assassination. Within hours, top Dominion leaders began to die. In their sleep, in their war rooms, in their bunkers. One by one, the heads of the Dominion were being cut off. The galaxy, once ruled by loud voices and strong empires, was going quiet. The Silent Armada didn't destroy everything. It destroyed only what was needed. A power plant here, command center there. Enough to make the Dominion bleed slowly. On news networks across the galaxy, reporters whispered behind locked doors, "Who are they? Where is Earth? Why didn't we see this coming?" And then one reporter, an old alien who had visited Earth a century ago, said something. No one else dared to say. Maybe they were never weak. Maybe they were just waiting. The Silent Armada moved again, heading toward the Dominion's central command planet. There was no doubt now. This was not an attack. It was an extermination. Earth had only just begun. The galaxy was breaking, and no one knew how it started. The Zarn Dominion tried to hide the truth, but fear spread faster than light. Ships burned, cities fell, and still the Silent Armada said nothing. No warning, no demands. Just death, but something even worse was happening now. Something no one saw coming. The hidden war had begun. In the capital of the Ralvec Alliance, a peaceful planet full of diplomats and trade masters, the leader of the High Council was found dead in his room. No signs of a break-in. No wounds. Just a message carved into the wall above his bed. You watched. Now you pay. A week later, the Grand Banker of the Virak Union disappeared during a live speech. The video went black for 2 seconds. When it returned, he was gone. His seat was empty. No sound. No trace. Everyone blamed pirates or rebels, but those were just excuses. Deep down, they knew. This wasn't normal. This was human. Across the galaxy, people began to whisper. Earth has spies. Earth is inside our walls. Earth never forgot. They were right. Years ago, after the first contact with the Dominion, Earth knew peace wouldn't last. So they created something special. Ghost teams. These teams were made of humans trained to vanish, to live among other species, to hide in plain sight. They were farmers, merchants, teachers, waiting in silence. Now those ghosts were awake. In the Zarn Dominion, power plants failed, one by one. Code errors shut down security systems. Food shipments were poisoned. Communications were hacked. A message kept appearing on every screen before the systems crashed. This is what silence brings. The Emperor ordered every world to hunt the humans. Find them, kill them all, he shouted. But they couldn't find anyone. Had already moved, already struck, and were already watching their next targets. On one quiet moon, a small child found a strange cube hidden under the floor. She touched it, and a voice spoke softly. You are not the enemy. Stay silent. Stay safe. Then the cube melted into dust. Even the innocent were being warned. Earth wasn't destroying everything, just the ones who watched the ambassador die. Just the ones who cheered. Back in the Dominion capital, Admiral Trask knew the truth. He stood in his office, staring at the galaxy map. Red dots were spreading fast, but not random. Each one was a key point. Military, government, industry. It was a perfect attack. This isn't revenge, he whispered. It's punishment. Opened a locked file, something he had kept hidden for years. It was a message from a human general, recorded decades ago, during the last peace talks. The general looked old, but calm. If you kill our voice, the message said, we will take your breath. That warning was real. Meanwhile, Captain Mira led her team through an abandoned station near the border. Her soldiers moved without sound, One by one, they found the Dominion agents hiding there. None survived. Myra stopped in front of a broken screen showing old news. Footage the execution of Ambassador Kane. She stared at his face, calm, brave, and then she whispered to herself, "We're not finished yet." Her orders had changed. The High Command had activated something new, something even more dangerous than the Silent Armada, Project Wraith. Project Wraith wasn't a fleet. It wasn't a weapon. It was information. A virus designed to attack not computers but truth. It changed records, switched facts, made history disappear. Within days, Dominion worlds started to forget Earth's real past. Maps were rewritten. Archives were erased. Even the Emperor's personal records turned to static. One of his ministers shouted, "It's like they're wiping themselves from time." But it was worse than that. Earth was wiping the Dominion from time. They were turning the galaxy into a place where the Zarn never ruled, where the execution never happened, where Earth was always in control. The hidden war was not just in space. Now, it was inside minds, inside stories, inside memory. A scientist on a neutral world tried to stop it. He built a system to protect history. But when he turned it on, the lights went out. His final message was recorded. They're not rewriting history, they're correcting it. On a distant asteroid base, Captain Myra received her next mission. The location, the Dominion's largest military shipyard. Her goal, shut it down quietly. No fire, no explosions, just silence. And so the hidden war moved forward. With each hour, Earth erased more of the galaxy's power, not with weapons alone, but with fear, shadows, and whispers. The Dominion was bleeding. But they didn't even know how deep the wound was, because Earth wasn't just fighting, Earth was winning, and no one could stop what was coming next. The galaxy was silent. Planets once filled with noise, light, and life now lay in darkness. The Zarn Dominion, once feared across every star system, had lost everything. Its armies were broken, its leaders were gone, its homeworld was now a field of ash. And the black ships still floated above it, all watching. Every hour, more systems stopped answering calls. Government buildings stood empty, trade routes collapsed, supply ships vanished. No one was fighting the humans anymore. There was no battle left to win. The Dominion wasn't falling. It had already fallen. On a faraway space station, a group of alien refugees watched the news feeds. They didn't speak. They only stared at the images, the burning cities, the dead fleets, and the one ship that had killed a star. A child pointed at the screen. "Who are they?" No one answered, because no one really knew. Across neutral planets, fear turned. To confusion, then guilt, then anger. But not at Earth. At the Dominion. At the silence they had once accepted. They remembered the execution of the human ambassador. They remembered how they did nothing. How they watched and said nothing. Now, they were all paying the price. In the shadows of the broken Dominion, only one man remained in power: Admiral Trask. Once a proud general, now just a survivor. He sat alone, inside a damaged warship, orbiting what was left of the Dominion capital. He played the ambassador's final words again and again. Protocol Zeta. That single word had changed the galaxy. It had awakened a storm that no one could stop. Trask looked at the stars and whispered, "We thought they were waiting because they were weak. But they were waiting because they were strong." His hand shook as he opened a final emergency file, something only the Emperor and High Command were allowed to see. It was a report from a spy hidden on Earth. It was old, written decades ago. Humanity has changed. They no longer build armies to fight. They build them to sleep. Their weapons are not tools of war. They are warnings. If Earth ever falls silent, it means they are watching. If Earth ever smiles, be afraid. Trask closed his eyes. It was too late now. Elsewhere. Earth's Black Fleet moved toward the last surviving Dominion world, Zareth, a fortress planet, once called the Iron Gate. Its leaders sent out a desperate call. "We surrender. Mercy, please." But Earth did not reply. The Silent Armada arrived in perfect formation, circling the planet like a black crown. No shots were fired. No words were spoken. A message simply appeared on every screen on Zerith. This is not war. This is consequence. Then, without a single weapon, Earth shut down every system on the planet. Power, communications, weapons, even oxygen support. Everything stopped. The world didn't burn. It froze. Back on Earth, inside a hidden mountain base, General Ross received a single update. Zerith has gone dark. He nodded. That was the last one. Another officer asked, "Should we call the fleet home?" Ross looked out the window at the peaceful sky. "Let them stay where the stars remember." Captain Mira stood aboard her ship, watching what was left of the Dominion vanish from her screen. She didn't feel joy. She didn't feel anger. She only felt justice. A message came through. It was a live broadcast from an alien leader on a neutral world. He looked tired and broken. "We were wrong about your people, about Earth. Please, tell us what you want," Mira replied calmly. "We wanted peace. You gave us death, so we returned it." The leader hesitated. "And now, we want you to remember." The feed ended. What remained of the galaxy listened. In hidden rooms, alien scholars rewrote history. They erased the lie that Earth was weak, recorded the truth, how one man's death triggered the end of an empire, how silence had been Earth's greatest weapon, how patience had been more powerful than any fleet. Children learned about Ambassador Kane, not as a victim but as a symbol. His face became a warning. His name became a legend. Back on Earth, a statue was placed in the center of the capital. It showed Kane standing tall, calm, with his hands behind his back, facing the stars. Beneath it, a single line was carved into the stone. They thought we were weak. Let them never forget what that mistake cost. The collapse was complete. The galaxy would never be the same again. The stars were quiet now. There were no more battles, no more screams, no more ships falling from the sky. The Zarn Dominion, once the strongest empire in the galaxy, no longer existed. Its cities were dust, its leaders were gone, and its name was fading from memory. The silent armada had stopped moving. The black ships floated at the edge of the galaxy like silent watchers. They no longer fired, they no longer chased. Their purpose had been fulfilled. But Earth still had one more thing to say. A single signal was sent. It traveled across space, through every channel, every frequency. No one could block it. No one could shut it down. The message played on screens, radios, even inside old machines that hadn't worked in years. It was not from a soldier. It was not from a leader. It was from a child. A young human girl sat on a chair, her legs swinging. She looked no older than 10. She smiled gently at the camera. Behind her, Earth's sky glowed in the soft colors of sunset. She spoke in simple, clear words. "We asked for peace." She paused, then looked down for a moment before lifting her eyes again. "You gave us death." Another pause. "So now, you understand us." The screen went black. Nothing followed. No threats, no demands, just that message. On worlds, across the galaxy, people sat in silence. Some wept. Some stared. Some simply turned away, unable to look at the screen again. That small voice had carried more weight than any weapon, because it told the truth. In the following days, many alien governments sent messages to Earth asking to talk, to rebuild, to offer tribute. Earth ignored them all. The humans weren't interested in ruling. They weren't interested in taking land or gold or glory. They had only wanted to be left alone, and now they were. In the burned ruins of old Dominion cities, alien children asked their elders, what happened to the humans? And the answer was always the same. They warned us. We didn't listen. High above Earth, inside a quiet station, General Ross watched the stars. Captain Myra stood beside him. "It's done," she said. Ross nodded. "But it will never be forgotten." Mira looked at the stars. They stood in silence. No music, no cheering, just quiet. That was how Earth celebrated. Back on the surface, In the same place where Cain had once spoken to Earth's leaders before his final mission, a new monument was built. It was simpler, a stone pillar, smooth and tall, no gold, no fire, just one name, Cain, and below it, the final words he had ever spoken. Protocol Zeta. In the distance, school children visited the site, led by teachers who spoke softly. "This is where it started," one teacher said. "But it didn't start with anger," said another. "It started with trust and ended with silence." The children replied together. Above them, Earth's sky was peaceful. No black ships, no alarms, just stars. Many of the silent Armada ships were now hidden again, buried beneath moons, drifting in dark space, or sleeping under oceans. They had done their job. They didn't need to fly anymore. The galaxy knew if Earth was ever threatened again, the silence would return, and with it, the storm. Years passed, and decades. The story of Earth became legend. Some said humans were monsters. Others said they were heroes. All agreed on one thing: they were never weak. In quiet rooms across the galaxy, old leaders told the tale of a time when one man's death broke an empire. A time when silence screamed louder than 1,000 guns. A time when a small blue planet reminded the stars that patience is deadly. One final message was found years later, hidden deep inside a broken Dominion computer. It was a recording from Ambassador Cain himself. No one knew how it got there. He smiled at the camera and spoke calmly. "If you're watching this, it means you made a mistake. The same mistake every empire makes. You thought kindness was weakness. You thought silence was fear. You thought humans were soft." His smile faded. "You were wrong." The screen faded to black. File was labeled, "For those who forget." So, the galaxy remembered. Not because Earth forced them to, but because Earth had shown them what happens when kindness is mocked, when peace is broken, when one man is executed in front of billions, and the whole species decides not to forgive. Humanity didn't conquer the stars. They taught the stars a lesson, and that lesson would never be forgotten.